Do you feel like you were at a disadvantage to somebody that flew like C-17s? So this is the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, but you're also an airline pilot now.
Yes. Yeah.
So at what point did you start considering transitioning? Did you kind of know that, or was there a point where it was like, hey, you know what, I think I'm going to look into the airlines?
So when I was a young fighter pilot, I said, I'm going to fly this thing till I die.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, reality sets in though.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe, you know, only 47, you know, so on the outside, like, oh, dude, he's got years and years and years ago. In the F-16 community, I'm the old guy. You know, it's a young man's game. It's physical. It's exhausting. You know, if you make it around as long as I have in the jet, everybody's got neck problems. Everybody's got back problems. You know, things that shouldn't be discussed on air. So we'll just leave it at there. But you know, we all have doctors on quick call. You know, so that we call. So I always just wanted to fly the F-16, but in 2017, 2018, I got hurt in my neck a couple times, and I go, honey, I can't do this till I'm 60, which is a mandatory retirement age for me.
Yeah.
I can't make it till 60 doing this job.
Yeah.
And at the time, the airlines were booming, and I just thought it was a good opportunity. So I put in application packages and finally was hired by American in 2019.
So what was that like? You know what I mean? Because you're in a single engine jet, and you're looking to fly at least a twin engine jet?
Yeah. So I had to go through and get my ATP or airline transport pilot with the FAA. So I did that, and that got you the ability to fly multi-engine. Okay. But I didn't have a type rating in any kind of larger aircraft or anything like that. All I've really known is military flying. On the civilian side, I had maybe 230 hours. I kind of knew how they operated a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, the majority of my training is all military. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you were at a disadvantage to somebody that flew like C-17s in any way?
Oh, for sure. Okay. And the reason being is the crew resource management, CRM model that the airlines use is used in the multi-crew Air Force. Yeah, they use the same model. They may call it a certain thing or different terminology. Yeah, but it's the same. How do I work together as a team now? And while in the F-16, yes, we still work as a team, but all of us are responsible only for our own airplane. So I remember doing the airline transport kind of certification. Yeah, just a little bit when we did some simulators. The ATP, CTP. Are you familiar with that one? Certification program. You have to do that in conjunction with the written test in order to be able to go to a practical examiner. Okay. So it's a testing that you have to do in simulators right now. I had never flown a big airplane. I'm paired up with another guy. All I've known is single seat stuff. They're like, well, you're cleared for takeoff. Bam. I throw the engines up. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm putting the air.
We're going, right?
We're going. They're like, you can't do that. I'm like, why? You have to confirm with this guy that he's ready to go. I'm like, interesting. Yeah. So we rotate, get airborne. I put my own gear up. They're like, dude, you can't do that. Why? It's like, because you're the pilot flying. He's the pilot monitoring. You know, he's what you call gear up, and he does it for you. You just fly. Wow. I'm like, I've never done this in my entire life. You know, so in that respect, it was a tough transition. As far as, content of things to memorize, I think the military really did a good job of my prior training in order to kind of train my mind. In fact, most of the instructors are like, you're overly prepared. So, which is a good thing.
That's pretty interesting. Like, I'd never considered that, like, not that I would ever need to, you know what I mean? But it's like you're flying with a crew and you have to communicate. And, so you're going to throttle up. Yeah. Well, you got to let somebody know you're going to throttle up.
Yeah. It was like, hey, why don't you brief me the instrument approach? I'm like, to who? They're like, to the crew. What do you? And I'm like, oh, apparently we got to do that.
So what would your advice be to somebody, in the fighter pilot community that's, looking to go to the airline? What's something that they could do to, I don't know what the right word is, kind of gain some type of advantage, start looking into this, or, what do you think looking back?
I'll give you a practical example. I sit in the backseat of students now, and they're in that initial phase where I'm just teaching them how to take off, land, fly, instrument approaches. Yeah. And so what I'll say is, brief me up on your approach. Because as a single seat fighter pilot, you're just looking down at your approach plate and just going, got to do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of things in the civilian community that they care about a little bit more than we do in the single seat mentality. And so I would say, hey, start now briefing up an approach. You know, as you come back and flying into the field, brief it up like you were a crew. And, you know, there's nobody there. They're not going to listen to your tapes and make fun of you, you know, or anything like that. Just, you know, that's one practical example of how the military pilot, military fighter pilot can start that transition mindset to civilian flying in the crew community.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And what is it like to go from, you know, this fast single seat F-16 to still fast, you know, but bigger, and you're responsible for a lot of people on this plane.
Yeah, you're responsible for tons of lives in the back that are sitting in the back there. At the same time, it was a breath of fresh air.
Why?
Because it was easier.
Oh, okay.
The stress level that you have as a single seat fighter pilot is way higher than in the airline community. Why? Because you have a team member to help you.
Yeah.
You know, you got somebody that's going to help out. You got other resources outside of the cockpit that are all there to support you and do everything. You know, in the military, we have our own publications that we're required to update and everything else. You walk into the airline and it takes a long time. I mean, I can spend an hour and a half probably updating all my publications, you know, once a month. At the airline, I walk in and I grab my iPad, open, sync, done. Everything's done.
Wow.
You know, because you have all the resources back behind the scenes to be able to do that. For me, it wasn't about the money. The money's better on the civilian side.
Sure.
It's about the longevity, and I just love to fly.
Yeah, totally.
I love flying, and I know this is my military service is going to come to an end soon, and I still want to fly.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I remember John Sylvester said this one time. We were talking about like flying Cessnas or whatever. He's like, "Man, I love flying Cessnas because I can enjoy it." I was like, you know what I mean? Like it's so weird because it's like, man, I would give anything to go fly an F-16. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine getting to the point where it's like, I'd love to go ride the Cessna right now.
Okay, so quick story on this. My son is trying to do the same path that I did. And so he's almost finished with school. He's trying to get, you know, commissioned with the Guard, specifically with Tucson. He works down there right now. He's enlisted.
That's cool.
And so we went on a discovery flight out at Ryan Airfield a month and a half ago or something like that.
High school or college?
College.
Okay.
Yeah, so almost finished with college. He's got a baby, so I'm grandpa.
Nice.
Which is way better.
Yeah.
So we go on a discovery flight, and I'm like, I want to go fly. And he's like, do you really, though? It's kind of boring. I was like, you don't understand. I'll be able to look outside, pay attention. And so I'm sitting right behind him. He's got an instructor on the right seat. And it was so much fun. But now as a dad who's also a professional pilot, there's things that frustrate you, right? Like taxiing on the center line. Like, how about you put your nose wheel on the center line? You know, how about we act professionally like this? And now his first time he's taxiing fast. So I go up and I shake his seat and I'm like, slow down, just like they did with me, you know? So I will not be the guy to teach him how to fly. That might ruin a relationship.
Is he going to take is he trying to get his like private or something like that?
Yeah. So one of the requisites that we have at the Tucson Guard is we at least want to see a young person get through solo.
Nice.
And if they can get through solo, it's apparent that they want to invest the time and the money. And also that they don't have any kind of apprehension about flying themselves. And so if they can at least get through solo, now the Air Force will take care of the rest.
So you get hired on with American Airlines?
American, yep.
What do they do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have any time in the jet that you're going to be flying.
Yeah.
So is it, you know, like, are they sending you to some type of training? Like, what's next?
So the initial training, there's a couple places, or a few places that you could do it. My initial training was in Dallas. And a lot of people will be freaked out when they hear the very first time that I ever landed an Airbus, there was 212 people in the back.
Wow.
Yeah. They, of course, the people in the back didn't know. But the simulators that the American and all the major airlines have, they are so accurate to the actual airplane, everything, all the logic. So the initial part of the training is like 2 weeks of ground school where you're going in and kind of part task trainers and pushing buttons, programming the box, as we call it, you know, the flight computer and everything, programming that, going through the emergency procedures. And then the second 2 weeks are in the sim. So you pushed buttons. Now you go to the sims. And these are the high dollar, full motion, everything kind of sims. We'll see a picture here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But they do everything. And so the 2 weeks, and at the very end of that second week, you get your check ride. You have two different check rides. One's called a maneuvers validation. At American anyways is what they call it. And it's where you go through all the EPs, the emergency procedures. You lose an engine at the very worst possible time. You know, have a tire blown on takeoff, max crosswind limits, weather diverts. You go through everything that could possibly happen, terrible, airborne, and you have to prove that you're good enough to manage that in the simulator, and there's an evaluator pilot sitting back behind you. So you work as a team with your classmate or a co-pilot and make it through that.
So like when you get through those, was it like, sounds like it's about a month of training then?
Yeah, about a month of training.
When you get through that, are you now up front and do you start off as a co-pilot?
Start off as a co-pilot. Yep. So I'm a first officer. So I sit in the right seat. There's a captain, and he takes care of the majority of the safety of flight. He's really in charge. I'm there to back him up.
Okay.
Now we do take turns flying. So, you know, one leg will be mine. He'll take the next leg. So I'll be the pilot flying one time. I'll be the pilot monitoring. We kind of go back and forth, but ultimately he's responsible for the safe conduct of the flight.
So it's almost like you're still on you're kind of like in these quasi training flights still because you're co-pilot and you're learning.
Yep.
But you know, it's like, hey, like today we're going to have you land for the first time or something like that.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was surprised. I thought that they would give you like a ferry flight from point A to point B with nobody in the back first, you know, and go, hey, we're just going to practice this once or twice before we. No, it's like, you know, so. And
what is the plane that you're flying at this point? Like first time?
It's an Airbus. The 321 was my very first flight out of LAX. We'd heard about my horror story of taxi there. But out of LAX, and I think it was like LAX to Boston or something like that. So long flight, transcontinental kind of things. Long flight, but it was fun. It's for the professional pilot and a person that just loves to fly. It doesn't matter if it's a glider that can go 30 knots or an F-16 that'll go 2.2 Mach. Flying is flying, and it's always fun. There's something about, just like, you know, as soon as the wheels come off the ground, it goes from shaky to now smooth, and you're like, cool. Oh, this is where I'm meant to be.
And the nerves when you're like coming back in, you know, like the whole setting up for approach and everything. And I remember the first time I went flying at night, and I was like, I didn't know you could turn the lights on and off, you know, like like weird stuff like that, you know. But so that transition from F-16 to the Airbus that you're flying, like how long does it take before you're starting to feel like comfortable in that position, even as a co-pilot? You know what I mean? Like crew resource management and things like that.
I would say 6 months.
Okay.
And so you're on probation for the first, I want to say it's a year. You know, you're on probation with the airline, just to kind of see how you do. Every time I flew with the captain, they filled out a report on how I did. And then at 8-month point, I went and met the chief pilot, and we had a review on, here's all the flights that you've done. Here's, you know, here's some positive feedback. They didn't have a lot of negative feedback, and so that's always good. At least, you know, they're affirming that their training techniques are working. And so you'd have that meeting with the chief pilot, and at the end of that year, you were off probation, where you didn't have to have reports written on you or anything like that.
Was it tough applying to that position, being a fighter pilot?
So I think they're looking for that single seat mentality. Okay. Because you've kind of done it all and done it all by yourself. But at the same time now, the challenge that the larger companies have is, how do I get him to make sure, A, that he's going to kind of meld well within the company and that he can get along with other people and fly a crew aircraft. If they had the choice of a C-17 pilot or a F-16 pilot, if it was me, I'd choose the C-17 pilot. He's already used to all that kind of stuff. So, but at the same time, a lot of F-16 pilots and fighter pilots in general have been picked up very, very quickly as soon as they've applied.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if there's like a component. Do you think that there's a component like, hey, the single seat guy, we can train him on how we're doing crew resource management or something like that? You know what I mean?
And they know that. I mean, they know that in order to get selected to track fighters, they're typically in the top 10% of their class. They know that the military academies, flight academies, are some of the most rigorous training in the world. And so if we can get the top 10% of the most rigorous training in the world, they're going to be a good pilot for us in the long run.
Yeah.
So
what does the typical day look like for an airline pilot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is there like a part-time job and a full-time job? And if you're full-time, you're flying every day. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So what I wasn't used to is everything is seniority based.
Okay.
And so the higher you are in the company, meaning the at the more top end of things, the higher you are in the company, the better your schedule is. You bid for the trips that you want. Say, for example, you're in the top 5% in Phoenix on the Airbus and you want 3-day to Hawaii's. Well, you'll get 3-day to Hawaii's. It's no problem. If all you want to do is jump up and down the West Coast, you can do that. That's fine. And now the guys at the very bottom of that seniority bucket are doing the red eyes from, Phoenix to Philly that takes off at 2 a.m. from Phoenix. Not fun, by the way.
Is it based on time in the company or something like that?
Yeah, all based on time in the company. Not a merit-based structure, which is what I was used to.
Sure.
In the military and still used to.
Interesting. And is that pretty much across the board in the airlines?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna start off low man totem pole.
Low man on the totem pole.
And you're gonna get the red eyes and all the things that everybody else doesn't want.
Yes. Oh yeah. I remember one time a buddy of mine, I'm on reserve, and so I'm sitting at home. I think it's like 9:30 at night, and my buddy puts out on a group chat, it's like, man, I really don't want to fly this Philly red eye tonight. I think I'm going to call in sick. And so he does, right? He's like, I just called in sick. And no kidding, 5 minutes later, my phone rings. Hi, this is the scheduler. We have a trip for you tonight to Philadelphia. And you need to be up in Phoenix at, by 12:30 tonight.
Wow.
I'm like, oh.
It's so cool, like how all these worlds are so different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like learning about like all these like different worlds and stuff like that. So what are you running like when you're first? So you're new. You're flying with a obviously more senior pilot. He's pilot in command.
Yeah.
He's like, so are you getting to fly like better? Like, how does that work? Like, is it because he's like more senior, does he get like a better pick of flights and stuff like that? And you're kind of benefiting from, you know what I mean? Like,
I would say that's kind of mixed and matched a little bit, because there's guys that bid for specific trips within a month. If you wanted to do hey, I only want to go from, Phoenix to Spokane to LAX to Phoenix, and you're high enough to be able to do that, that's fine. That we would call that a line holder. And then on the other side, some guys are so junior in the company, or maybe want to be what they call short call reserve. So you get a 2-hour window ish that you have to show up at the airport, and you're like, well, I don't know where I'm going. And they tell you, well, you're going to, Hawaii. Congratulations. You're like, sweet. But that's kind of a fluke thing.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
So there's another thing, like this is more just like a random personal question.
Yeah.
People know airline pilots, they make a lot of money, right? They get paid really well. And, I'll be thinking like, there's like 100 people on this plane, $500 ticket or whatever it is, you're adding it all up. And it's like, well, where are the airlines making their money? Okay, they're obviously making money on flights, but there has to be other money being made.
Yeah.
Where is that?
From what I've heard, I've not done a lot of research, right? I mean, you can go to the different forums that this all has, but one of the giant revenue streams is actually credit cards.
Wow.
No joke.
Okay.
Credit cards. Yeah. Between bonus flight points or, frequent flyer stuff and promotions and credit cards, they make a boatload off of credit cards.
Because it always has boggled my mind that you can kind of do like a very basic math per flight, but it's got to cost more than that to operate that plane.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes, right? Like, holy cow, I'm going from, Phoenix to Boston and I have 12 people in the back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they go, okay, we'll cut our losses because when we get to Boston, that airplane needs to be used to now fly to Cancun with a totally oversold flight. You know, so it's all kind of figured out, and I have no idea how they do it. Those are some smart people.
All you need is that check coming in.
I just want to fly. Just want to fly.
That's funny. And so are you flying every day?
No, which is a good thing. So in the average month, I think most guys are working 12 to 15 days a month.
Okay.
Yeah. And the rest of the time, one of the nice things about the civilian flying versus military flying is when I come home during the military flying, I still have a cell phone that rings. I still am responsible for, you know, guys that are underneath me that might need help, whatever it may be. I still get the phone calls. You're always on the clock in the military. When you land at your final destination and you're commuting home, you are done, and they don't call you, and they have other people. So
how far ahead are you scheduling like your flights and things like that? Like, is it like a week in advance or for the whole month?
It's typically, so you'll put in what they call a bid package at the very beginning of the month, and usually by about the 15th, you know what you're going to be doing for the next month.
So you can really kind of plan things out.
Yep.
And then flights free for friends and family? Or?
Yeah, which is a wonderful benefit. My wife, I can do what they call non-rev, so non-revenue sales. I have an app that I can look at and see how many seats are open. Wow. And now I kind of know, I played the game long enough that I go, we'll make this flight. It'll be fine. I think I calculated out one time. I saved like $35,000 one year in airline.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of it was kind of like the fringe benefits of being an airline employee. I wanted to go to Springfield, Missouri to go see family with my wife and I, and they had first class open on both legs and so those tickets were, you know, $4,000 each. Wow. You know, so yeah, just free.
How do you like flying for the airlines?
I like it. You know, like I said, it's part of the professional pilot mentality is it doesn't matter what I fly. I like to fly. It's low stress for me anyways. Very low stress. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. I know exactly what hotels that I'm going to. I can kind of plan out in my month, and I say, hey, I got a friend that lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, bud, can I come see you? Yeah, sure. When are you free? I'm free this day. Cool. I'll put that in my bid package. So it's kind of fun. And then on the days off, I mean, if you want to travel, but there's not a care in the world. You don't even have to think about flying.
Well, what's it like on the, like, okay, so F-16, you know, you got your stick, you move it and it moves.
Stick. Yeah.
You know, and it's pretty immediate. Like, so versus like the airline, you know what I mean? Is it here or is it here?
So with Boeing's products, it's right here. And with Airbus, it's actually still the side stick.
Oh, really?
It's fly-by-wire, trimmed to 1G, auto throttles.
Oh, wow.
You take off, you set the throttles, you put it in a different position, then you don't touch the throttles the rest of the sortie.
What is it like to fly? Is it kind of like this big Cadillac? You know what I mean? Like,
what I wasn't used to is like the crosswinds. So in the F-16, if you're to land on a crosswind, and you know, say the crosswind is coming in, you're actually land like sideways a little bit, right? We call it the crab. Land in the crab, and then you apply some stuff on the ground to be able to do this. It's not like that with that big tail on the back of that. So you actually have to kick it in order to land straight. So that was quite a bit different. That's one of the main kind of flight characteristics that I noticed. But overall, it's meant to fly in countries where aviation is not like at its highest safety level. If you kind of catch my drift, right? I mean, the Airbus is proliferated all over the world, and it flies all over the world because it's an easy airplane to fly.
Pretty like that first landing where you're a little nervous, or you're like, oh, I got this, or
you know, from the simulator training, I was like, I got this. You know, that's pretty cool. From the simulator training, I was like, no big deal.
You know, like when you're in the F-16, you're pretty close to the ground versus, you know, in this, it's got, you know, that height difference. Is it, you know, that is something that's a little bit different. So in the Airbus, you get taught a bunch of different techniques on how to land. The one that kind of stuck with me and has worked is the radar altimeter, or the flight computer actually talks to you. Oh, cool.
And so as you're coming down, the radar altimeter will be like 100, 50, 40, 30, you know, and it's in a British accent, which I love,
cool. Yeah,
you know, so I'm like, this is great. I found when it goes to 30, if I pull the power and just pull it back and just hold off the flare, I can kind of grease it on just a little bit. And then it tells you retard. And it's talking about the throttles.
Yeah.
And the big joke on that is the first one is telling you what to do and the second one's calling you that. So yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like you can kind of like plan out your life pretty well with this job. Mm-hmm. How do you transition from what you're flying now to something else? Or is that a choice? You're like, hey, eventually I'd like to fly this. Or is it something that like, hey, you've been with us for 4 years. We're going to put you in this.
Yeah, no, it's seniority based, right? So I got hired from American with American in 2019. I'll go back to them in 2027. Mm-hmm. Long stories back behind that, but I'll go back to them in 2027 based off my seniority. I could stay exactly where I was when I left, or I might be able to go to the right seat of like a 777 out of DFW that does Europe. You know, so it's all based on seniority, and when you own that seniority to be able to hold that position, it's yours. Same with captain.
What would your recommendations be to somebody that's been in your position? Thinking about transitioning to the airline? Like, what are some things that maybe, I should have done this or something like that?
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure right now. My path was a little bit different in that I didn't get hired with the first company that I interviewed with. That company said, no, thanks, but no thanks. On that, and it was quite crushing. Looking back now in my life, it was actually a divine moment where I needed to be home with my kids at the time. So I can look back to that and kind of see the divine nature of why I didn't get hired right then and right now. I would say that military aviation provides me more internal purpose. Yeah, because there's a drive, there's more of a purpose. Yes, there's a purpose with flying people to their destination.
Sure.
But in my viewpoint, and my viewpoint only, that does not even compare to be able to serve your nation, to protect those around you, to be able to teach now the next generation of young fighter pilots how to do their job. So for me, you can't serve in the military forever. So properly position yourself of when it's your exit strategy time. Adhere to that kind of time schedule. But if you're in the military, in aviation, give it everything that you possibly can. Sacrifice and service is what it's all about for me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What, you're getting towards the end of your fighter time. What do you think about that?
I've loved every second of it. And not many people say, when I retire, I enlisted August 31st of 2000. My orders right now go to August 31st of 2027. That's 27 years completed service.
Wow.
For me, that's enough. That's enough. I will have internally felt like I've given it all.
What do you think it'll be like on that last ride?
Oh.
Are you going to open it up?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it a finny flight, and it's very common that your family's right there.
Yeah.
And everybody celebrates you. The entire squadron's out there. For the younger guys, typically the young lieutenants will tackle you and then tape you to the jet. And then your kids are wetting you down with water fire extinguishers, and everything else. I don't need that in my life. I'll gladly just stand there and let everybody soak me down with champagne and the fire extinguishers. I don't want to give it up.
Oh, I can only imagine, man. Yeah.
No.
I kind of had that same feeling. I was like, dude, if I was in that position, I would want to do it forever.
Yes. Yeah.
I would never want to stop. You'd have to force me to stop.
Yeah. And you will get forced.
Yeah.
Whether it's back injuries and you having to go, okay, it's a young man's game. But, for me anyways, at 50 years old, I had a personal goal to go to 50 years old and 27 years of service. And I'll have achieved that.
I really appreciate you being here. It was really cool talking to you about this. And, man, just thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And for everybody that's been watching, I hope you got something out of this. You know, it's true. You know, if like you have a dream, you got to pursue it and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. And you just got to keep chugging forward. And if you keep moving forward, you're going to get to your destination at some point. If you have any questions for Matt, or if you want to reach out to him, let me know in the comments, and I will get in touch with Matt, and then I'll let you know in a response to the comments. But share the video, like it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Man, it's awesome, man.
Dude, thank you so much.
Awesome.